Hi there, welcome to my channel. So for today, we will discuss a very important topic when it comes to nutrition and way of eating, or our food and lifestyle. So this is the types of hunger or hunger pangs. These are the signals that gives us the idea or pushes us to finally eat. So what makes us eat during that specific time? To break it down generally, it can be divided into physiologic, emotional, and habitual. So first, we will discuss the easier ones. The first one will be habitual. Sometimes we eat not really because we need nutrition in our lives or that we are really hungry in the sense of a word. However, we eat simply because it is part of our routine or our habits. Say for example, you are used to eating exactly at 12 noon and you've had a light snacks before that, but because your body is used to eating during that time, you will still eat. Also, it doesn't just need to be in time. Sometimes it is a place. So whenever you pass by or you happen to be in that place and you are so used to eating something, that specific specialty, that specific food on that special or specific store, you eat because you are there. So it is not really part of hunger or nutritional need, but it is just a habit or something that you've been used to. And lastly, it can be habitual because of people. Even if you've just eaten, but suddenly a friend comes along and invites you to go somewhere, and you are used to eating whenever you're with that friend. It's like your food buddy. And so even if you're still full or the last meal you took was just 30 minutes ago, you are still open to a little bite or a little drink or something, just simply because this friend of yours or this person of yours is someone that you're used to eating with. So the next time you are in your habits, may it be your time, the people you're with, or the location, try to think first if you're really hungry or do you really need food at that time, or maybe it's just part of your habitual sense of hunger that is not a real true hunger. So we're okay with that, and let's move on to the next type of hunger, which is emotional hunger. So sometimes any emotions that we feel, it goes signals in our brain that feels like we need to do something about it to make us feel good. Usually it's the reason like that. It doesn't need to be bad. The more common reasons I know are negative, like for example, feeling down, feeling disappointed, feeling depressed, or maybe you've been agitated and somewhat anxious during a certain period, and you also be that you are just bored and you just want to eat because you don't have anything else to do. You have that feel that you need to celebrate, and that alone will trigger you again. How can I celebrate? And yes, it is about food. Usually it's really our go-to. It's our language of love, and also it's our language of disappointment and many others. And these foods sadly are not the nutritional ones. These are foods that are sugar loaded, processed, and the ones that trigger the pleasure center of the brain, but not the satisfaction center of the brain. So you will end up craving for more. And I'm not telling you that you shouldn't do it totally, because I myself admittedly do it from time to time, especially the celebratory ones, the celebration. But when you do, I hope you try to acknowledge it first, the reason that you have to take it in, acknowledge the reason why you feel like you need to eat food, whether it's for celebration or whether it's to make you feel good, and address the root cause. Why do you feel bad? How can you address it sustainably? Because food is just a quick fix. It is a quick fix that can lead to addiction, and it can lead to a vicious cycle of continuously striving and craving for that food, for that sweetness and all those, but not addressing the root cause. So when you do that, if you just give into that every time, you are actually doubling the problem, denying the root cause of the problem, and at the same time adding problem by going into a vicious cycle with unhealthy food habits. So that's the two of the major parts of hunger that we need to identify: habit and emotions. And the third one is the more important one, which is sometimes can be very confusing. It is physiologic kind of hunger. So the first one, it's actually not food. We thought every time we feel like we are hungry because our stomach is really empty, we thought that we really need food, but actually no. There is this what we call empty stomach syndrome. Yes, the stomach is really empty because you've eaten, say for example, 3 hours ago, But actually, that doesn't mean that you need to eat right then and there, because the food might just be in your small intestines or large intestines, or maybe in your bloodstream already. So you actually don't need food. You don't need to fill in that stomach just for you to feel full again. The food that we eat can last us a day. There is even such a thing as 1 meal a day. We do that, OMAD, 1 meal a day. So we eat only once or maximum twice a day in a period of 4 to 5 hours, and we are fasting for 20 hours at minimum in a day. And all those times, majority of those times, our stomach are empty and we don't eat at all, because we now recognize that an empty stomach doesn't actually mean hunger, or doesn't, at most, it doesn't mean that you need to take in food. So the next time you feel like your stomach is empty, recognize, do you really need food, or the food is just somewhere traveling, not yet reaching your brain? Or maybe ask again, maybe it's just part of your habitual or emotional reason to eat. Okay, so another form of physiologic non-nutritional type of hunger is due to lack of sleep. So whenever we lack sleep and our body is tired, the stress hormones in our body, like cortisol, increases. And this hormone signals our brain that we need something. And what do we respond it to? Usually, we respond it by the first thing that gave us the most pleasurable experience of all. And what is that? Food. Yes, we give in to food just because it is the most pleasurable one. But at the end, after eating, you will realize that you're not yet okay. You know deep down that what you need is rest. There is this study that emphasizes what happens to the body and appetite whenever men and women lack sleep. And they found out that when men lack sleep, their appetite is increased. So their hunger is doubled the next day. Whereas for women, their appetite is also increased, but not the same extent as the men. However, there's a big difference because they are never satisfied. So that's why for us women, whenever we lack sleep or whenever we are under stress, the stress hormones sends us a signal that even if we eat so much, we are never satisfied. We are craving for more. So that's why we have to address the root cause. That is either lack of sleep or dealing with the stressors that we have. And this time we will discuss the nutritional side of physiologic hunger. So for the physiological hunger, we have two types: the nutritional and non-nutritional. So again, the non-nutritional, we have lack of sleep or stress hormones and the empty stomach syndrome. So for the nutritional need, we will divide it into two: water and food. So sometimes, even if we are just thirsty, our body, our brain cannot sense that it needs only water. So it sends a signal that you need something, you need to take in something. So if you are not mindful, you dive in right there and then with food. However, sometimes after eating, you will still feel like you're not yet okay. And then that's the only time you realize that you are actually just thirsty. Time that you have eliminated the habitual and the emotional aspects of hunger, you try to drink water first, because more often than not, we are actually just thirsty and not really hungry. And so we move on to the last type of physiological nutritional need for hunger, that is food. So food doesn't need to be sugar, doesn't need to be cake, doesn't need to be a soft drink, doesn't need to be a plate full of meal, okay? You might in need of food, but maybe it could be just the electrolytes, the micronutrients, the vitamins and minerals, and not really the energy dense. So you can divide it into two: energy dense and vitamins and minerals. And for the vitamins and minerals, most including electrolytes, actually the most that we need to replenish each day is just salt. Sodium, yes, sodium is the most abundant electrolyte in our body, and it gets eliminated in our urine often throughout the day. So that's why we lack it, and most often than not, our cravings and hunger can sometimes be just addressed by taking in a pinch of salt. So what I usually do, I put in a pinch of salt, I put it under my tongue, and then drink water. Observe for 5 minutes the cravings, the hunger, the thirst. Mostly it will be gone. And if not, maybe that's the time that you will really need to eat. You will need to eat a nutritious, energy-dense foods, and it doesn't need to be sugar. You start with proteins and fats, you fill in your tummy, and then you wait for a little while for those to trigger the satisfaction center of the brain. And if it tastes good, it will also trigger the pleasure center of the brain before you eat carbohydrates, sweets, and all these very addicting foods that are actually not nutritionally needed in our body. So yes, those are the types of hunger. You have several of those. We've discussed all those. You can see it on the screen. So the next time you feel hungry, try to assess first. Is it emotional? Is it just habitual? Or is it really physiologic and then really nutritional? Try to ask, do you need food or do you need water? And if you need food, try to think again. Maybe it's just salt, or maybe you really need foods. Maybe you've been fasting for 20 hours already, or 3 days already, or 7 days already. So you assess and then you eat the better choices, the right choices that would not include the simple sugars that are very highly processed, very addicting, and can cause a lot of problems in our health. I hope you get a little from this today. And if you like this video, you can subscribe to my channel and follow my page, Dr. Josephine Grace Chua Rojo. Thank you very much. That's it for now. Bye-bye.